Hello, it's Nancy. Today I'm going to show you something very simple, but that might not have thought of it. Now, when you're canning and you're opening your canning boxes, it's frequently people will try to open them like this. They'll open the sides up and take their jars out. But if you do that, then they are very hard to close up again. If you open them like this, then you can close them, and they're easier to open and close and get into. Okay, so you may want to know how to do this. Now, most people would know how, but just in case you didn't know how and you haven't thought of this, this is the way to do it. You would go cut. Now, you don't want to cut your lids or your jars, so go in right by the edge of your box, because your box has a certain width. Okay? There you go. You see how it's working? Your jars are not going to be right up against the side. Okay, you just want to open it on three sides. Okay, now your jars are probably upside down and your lids are in here. So, oopsie, let me get this done here just a second. So, if you're going to can, now what you're going to want to do is you put your lids the lid top seems to have fallen off. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so your lids are going to have to be sterilized. So you put them in, one lid in each container. Now, I don't bother to wash them because boiling them is certainly going to wash them. And I've never had a problem not washing them. Make sure you only have one lid in each spot. Okay, so then you're going to put them in your pot and cover them with water. Obviously, you can see this pot is not big enough, so I'm going to have to change pots. And where will my other pot be? Up here. Okay, so let's move all these into a different pot. It's good if you keep your lids inside the rings, lids inside the rings. Sometimes they'll boil out. This makes it harder to get a hold of them later when you're going to put them on your... Now this pot is the perfect size, you see, because I could stick them around in there. Okay, now we're going to cover them with water. Pay no attention to my dirty sink. Okay, so we cover them with water, then we put them on our stove and we boil them for 5 minutes. Now, although what I'm doing is cutting the pumpkin, out of the shell, and putting it in the jars to fill my containers, I still need my lids to have already boiled for 5 minutes when I put them on the jar. I'm not sure why you do that, but boiling will soften that rubber ring inside and makes a really nice seal on your jars. But I think when you're canning, you don't really need to. But if you don't do this, your ring is not going to be as tight. You really need your ring to be on there tight. If your ring is not on tight because you didn't boil them, the rubber is harder and thicker. You think you're putting it on tight, but then when you put it in the canner, everything gets very hot and melty. And so then your lid is not on very tight anymore because you've got this rubber, this gooey, very soft rubber. Meanwhile, your food is boiling inside, and your food is going to try and boil its way out. Don't know why. It pushes it all up to the top. You'll find when you take your jars out of your canner that your food is way up high and there's water at the bottom. Even if you didn't add water, it'll do that. So when it's pushing it up to the top, it's going to try and get out. So if you have not boiled your lids first and made them really soft so that you can screw them on tight, you're going to have food in between your lid and your jar top. And if there's food in there, a littlest piece of food, it'll make it not seal, and your food will spoil. So that's very important. You have to boil your lids for 5 minutes. Put them on your jar nice and tightly, and put them in there. It's okay if they cool down afterwards. They're already been put, while you're waiting, because it might take you a while. If you've got other things to do in your life other than just put pumpkin in jars, you don't have the whole day to devote to this. You're just going to do it as you can in between other things you've got to do today. Okay, Nancy today, little tips.